G'day guys, Jaden here from Abraham's Fortune Wellness Center, sharing a little bit about where I'm at today. We're continuing our series on self-care here and stopping in on a question that came to mind a lot for me and still does actually, as I integrate self-care into my life. It's the idea like self-care being selfish. You know, is self-care selfish? Is it okay if self-care is selfish? I personally think that self-care is selfish, right? But that it's not selfish in the way that people say, oh, you know, it's bad to be selfish, you know. It's not just thinking of the self. In other words, right, it's kind of like they tell you when you're flying a plane, put your mask on first and then help someone with their mask. If you can't help yourself first, if you can't care for yourself first, you're not going to be able to care for anyone else around you, correct? So, put your own mask first on, right? That is selfish, but it's selfish in a good way because it allows you to help other people, right? So yes, it is selfish, but it's a good kind of selfish. Now, how do we discern when it's a good kind of selfish compared to when it's a bad kind of selfish, right? Well, I'd say, is there a balance between this being good for yourself and good for others? Holistically speaking, that is to say, you can go down to the really small level and say, okay, you know, like, is this good for me on a physical level, like healthy for my body, this form of self-care, and then sort of zoom out a little bit, well, is it good for those around me? Then you can zoom out a bit more, is it good for your community? You can ask the question in this modern age, is this thing that I'm doing actually good for the world? And that's a big question, but if you can answer that question, you're going to get some kind of idea as to the things you're doing that are good and the things you're doing that you could probably use to change, which as human beings, we all have those things, right? That's why I believe Christ died for us. But to this point, I would love to hear any comments that you have about Christ, about self-care, anything in between. Chuck them in that section right there. And until the next time, guys, we'll see you then.